voices in my head.
And they tell me not to use copyrighted music longer than that. No, I guess. So we're just trying to set up turns. So we go here, here. Very unlikely an aggro deck would block all 7 of this. Maybe they block 3, maybe they block 6, or maybe they just take it. We don't know. Probably snatch for 4 with go again with a quicken token. Again, an aggro deck might block this. Pass, get a meeps. This point, we just attack with the meeps, pitching Mocking Blow. They very likely block this because I hear drawing 2 cards is just gross. But if they don't, we've dealt 6 damage this turn. That's not likely to happen. So from there, we just go looking for scrap. Banish that to go 5 go again. Pass. And then do this swing big. And we can go ahead and pitch both of these is fine. This time it's just Coax a Commotion, just looks really innocent. Doesn't matter whatever they block, 4, 6, doesn't matter. You typically are going to get over this anyway. But we're going to save the big bully in case I get a boo card. No instants. Doesn't matter what order they resolve in at all. We're just going to do these 2 again, gain a life, and get a quicken token. Draw a card would be if we had go again somehow. Pass, pass, pass. In the last match that I played this, I got a 27 damage turn off that required Savage Sash and 2 swing bigs, but was totally capable of doing that. So this deck can present 27 damage turns like many other brutes. I don't know if it can go higher than that, but that's what I was able to do. That was in 1 game against a Gravy Bones. So it looks like Underhanded Cheat can definitely do this. Let's see what a few hands looks like here. So basically we are just going to lead with Meeps, pitching Vipox. Vipox is a late game finisher. They're going to block this most of the time, first turn. It's not like Steel Victory is a huge draw anyway. And then we just go for Nimby, grab a Nimbleism. That puts a few cards in our graveyard that are tiny. The Nimby one for our looking for scraps. From there, we can go ahead and add the Ready to Roll to the arsenal. Just take whatever damage for the first turn or so because you're setting up. Okay. So this is actually a pretty good hand with Ready to Roll. So we are going to just pass, enter our turn with Ready to Roll. Roll these Scab Skins. 5 is totally good. Just 2 action points is all we really need. And then we're going to Nimbleism, a Coax a Commotion for 7. Coax a Commotion, obviously, one of my favorite cards, clearly, is each hero creates a Quicken, each hero draws a card, each hero gains 1. In the event we have the go again or the extra action points, we will be drawing the card 99% of the time. So we'll pass. We're going to create a Quicken and draw a card and see what we get here. Refresh, because I forgot spacebar just does that. Reaction, instant, and then you have to submit on Talishar. That gets us another Nimby, which is totally fine. Choose an instant, pass, no, we're just going to have that. So we have the Quicken token now, which means we can now snatch with the Quicken token. They might have blocked, they might have not last time. Maybe like 3 or 6. A snatch is probably going to be a double block if it has go again, but obviously the practice dummy doesn't care about that. So right now we're on 11 damage. We haven't been booed, so that's not great. We have no action points left after that snatch. Then we can choose an action with the 1 from the go again off the Quicken token. We could pump this in for 6, but it's not worth it in my opinion. So we're just going to go for Nimby, grab that second Nimbleism. So this turn wasn't amazing. It was still only 12 damage, but it was threatening on hits, probably pulling cards out of your opponent's hands and doing a lot of setup for the next turn. So we'll just pass, pass, pass. So on this turn, we got rewarded by putting the big bully in here. We're just going to booze, and we're just going to throw this thing out. Pitch 2 here. Pitch for the 4, make that 12. So the last turn, we had a lot of effectual on hits for 11 damage. This time, we just have a big bully coming in for 12. And then we have the Vigor set up for next turn, as well as a Vigor set up for the turn after that. Booze gave us a little bit of flexibility for the next 2 turns. So we can just afford to just throw a quick 12 damage. Doesn't matter what order they go in, really. And then let's see what we get here. Mocking Blow, ready to roll, Mocking Blow, offensive behavior, whatever. Just let this get by so we can see. So we have that Vigor pop. We got booed this turn, so Mocking Blow is on. We would probably want to ready to roll and roll those scabs. Get 5, that's totally good. 2 action points is more than enough to do what we want. Because all we're really going to do, we have 1 resource floating, is going to be just Mocking Blow for 5. You know, use 1 of our action points. Pass. They might block this a bunch because you might be pumping this to 10. They might respect it. If they don't, they're just going to take 5. And with the second action point, we are going to go ahead and play Nimblism. And we're just presenting a lot of damage into a Mocking Blow. This is already 8 damage because of the boot effect. But we're actually going to, if they over-respected the first one, right? Over-blocked the first one, then we're going to hella punish here by pumping that up to 13 and pushing down a total of 18 damage. Now, our turns have been 11, or 12, 11, or 11, 12, 15. Now we're on to 18, right? Just consistent meta damage. The first couple turns were a lot of relevant on hits as well. Obviously, you're taking a lot of damage, but you're using your equipment to mitigate some of that and start the race down. You kind of want to play that game of, do you really want to be at the same level as me? Because it turns on some of my booing effects. So we'll take a look here. Mocking Blow, Vipox, Bully Tactics. We have no go again or anything. Kind of risky, but we can go ahead and roll these. Most of the time, you're going to get at least 1 action point back. But on a turn like this, with those consistent of damage turns with on hits and big scary numbers, you're probably ahead on the curve anyway, unless your opponent's very stalwart and very focused, right? So higher levels, that may not work super well, but at the same time, you know. So we have 1 resource, no go again, nothing like that. We probably just try to pull cards out of their hand, right? Vipox. If they're going to hold on to their full grip of 4 cards or whatever the hell, Goliath for 5. They know that I'm going to try to pump this with 1 Vigor and 1 Blue, can pump this to 6. And we'll do that regardless of what happens here. Pumping all those to churn through our deck. We're going to put Bully Tactics in the arsenal. Alright, whatever, we get hit. This is an okay looking turn. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to roll this. Pass. 1, destroy the Gambler's Gloves, get a 5. Now we have 2 action points. It's a much better turn. So what we're really going to do here, so it's Bully Tactics, pass, and probably full Intimidate. Intimidate 3 cards out of their hand. Now they may block this because they think they're about to get hit for 6 or something, or if they're smart, they just block this with equipment or something. But the point is they have 3 cards out of their hand, typically only going to have 1 left, right? And now you have to kind of make the choice of, do I looking for scrap into a swing big, because that turns this into 3, 8, 16 damage turn, or do I try for the snatch? You probably don't try for the snatch, to be honest with you. We're probably just going to push numbers again. So we'll just move on. Move on. Looking for scrap. Pitching this. Getting rid. It doesn't matter what you get rid of. That's 5 go again. They've already been intimidated a ton. So you're just pushing a ton of damage. And then you're going to end that with a swing big. And they just cannot answer this at this point. So that was Bully Tactics for 3. Looking for scrap for 5. Followed by a swing big, and there's just no way they could defend those other bits of damage. Guaranteed like 12, 13 damage in, unless they use all of their armor or something, which they might be able to do. And they're going to clap back because they're going to get a full grit back unless they got rid of 1 card. So they're getting 3 cards back. So just remember that. They are going to clap back a bit. Here we see a bit more of a unique hand. We are just going to get past here. Kind of dangerous to do this at this point, but might be worth it. 5. We'll go ahead and use our first action point. Blue, and I know that they always have a Throttle Blue or something in their hand. Oh, so I drew a card. Interesting. Okay, it's a random card, I guess. So, pass. We drew a card. That's incredible, actually. Because then we're going to bingo again. No, we have 1 action point, so we want to... we're not going to use the... Okay, so we're not going to use this yet, because 5 is kind of hard for this deck, because a lot of my attacks are like 4 and 1. So even bigger than that's not going to work this time. But we can still push a bunch of damage. Just get rid of Vipox, sure. Now that's 5 go again. Now that's 10 damage total this turn. And then 1 even drew me a card. Pass, instant. And then we just go for bingo again. And maybe we draw another card or get go again. Doesn't matter to me at all. No reactions. On hit, reveal, drew another card. And that gives us a very sweet card in hand. We're just going to pass turn, pass, drop an even bigger than that in the arsenal, and see what we draw. That's perfect. That's actually perfect. So what we're looking to do here is probably not roll any dice because this isn't arsenaled or anything. Probably just a setup turn, to be honest. So we're just going to go, what is that going to be? Requires 6, 5, no vigor, not booed. So we just go nimblism, send the mocking blow, pass, and they can know that this could go to 9. Depends on what life they're at. That might or might not matter. It's not the most effective turn, I'm not going to lie to you. 9's not exactly super scary. And in this scenario with an even bigger than that, we might even, we might even just start churning through our deck. That's another power about KO Underhanded cheat, is it just makes it crazy efficient to churn through your deck to find your power cards. It's kind of like the gold in Gravy Bones used to be. This isn't going to be realistic because they're going to block this stuff, or maybe they don't. I don't know. But this is just going to be what we're going to have to do to like show the deck off. 2, they can either block 3 and respect the reactions and not expect you to go for 6, but they're probably going to go for the 6. Doesn't matter, you have go again. But there's no way this is how this works. So we go pass, pass, even bigger than that. Pass, find a bingo. Bottom these 2, put bingo on top. Pass. So now we drew a card, created a quicken token. We would bingo, right? Hello, Talishar. Okay, well, Talishar, bro. Pretty crazy. But, like, that's the kind of deck you're going to be playing. You're going to be playing the Surprise Sucker Punch on hits over and over again and just overvaluing your opponent. That was enough footage to really show that you're going to be pushing meta damage of anywhere from 12 to 18 every other turn as long as you're pressing, which means the onus is on your opponent, right? This deck wants to be the beatdown. This deck wants to be the one pressing the action. Also, $260 to get into this deck, okay? You do have to know how to use the Scabskin Leathers efficiently, right? You do have to be a little daring with this deck to really push the advantage, but once you do get it, let's take a quick look at this deck, okay? So Gambler's Gloves and Scabskin Leathers, hand in hand, those are them boys, right? It's just 2 brothers. That's just called 2 brothers. Scowling Fleshbag, again, can shut down an opponent's turn when they're in the midst of a run. It can turn the entire tide back to your favor with a single card, which is insane, right? Savage Sash, this is mostly for your huge turns. How I got that 27 damage turn was a Gravy Bones didn't have the ability to block. So if I'm seeing this right, the last turn ended up being, they couldn't block a Snatch out properly because they had 3 non-blocking cards in their hand and they had no armor left. Snatch with a Quicken token, draw, Snatch after a Scabskin rolls of 3. Okay, so that's 3 action points. Snatch uses 1, go to 2 action points, draw another card. Okay, and then it was Coax a Commotion was the card that I drew. Draw and create a Quicken token. Crack the Savage Sash, pitch a blue, swing big from Arsenal, swing big from hand. Right? So what is that? 16, 28 damage? Not 27, my bad. My bad, that wasn't 27, it was 28 damage. It was 12 plus the 2 swing bigs. Obviously, Gravy Bones is a bad example for this because he's just going to have non-blocks in his hand sometimes. That just so happened to be an extraordinarily bad case. But that shit is going to happen, and that's fine, right? Your opponents, they're going to have a little bit of bad luck. This does have a higher-end version of that. It does have a consistency capability of pushing that damage through because you can get the Coax Commotions with either the Nimbleisms or the Razor Reflexes. Mischievous Meeps is just a card they have to block because with another blue it turns into a 6 power draw card. Replace the card you just pitched, right? And a lot of these attacks are free or very cheap. As you heard earlier, getting a couple swing bigs, a blue, a Savage Sash, and a good roll can turn huge damage across. But let's just go. That's enough sensationalism of the, when I was practicing this deck, I saw a 28 damage, I thought it was 27, but a 28 damage turn. You're just going to be using the Mandible Claw. It's just a default option. There's not really a better option. Savage Sash, Temper 2, very good. Enables those swing big turns or the big bully turns. They're the same thing, right? I don't think there's anything else that's going to cost 2 that you really care about in the deck because most of the cards are geared towards being able to hit Nimbleism or Razor Reflex. Scowling Fleshbag Your opponent presents an okay turn, you block, you intimidate out their turn, that you knock the legs out from under them, and then you present your consistent 12 to 18 damage, sometimes high spike into 28 damage. So the cards are, I got 2 big bullies in here, right? You don't want to see them too often because you need to be able to get booed first, and the deck kind of works with some boos, but not entirely. Bingo. It's a decent card. Most of the time, if they don't react or you don't hit a react, you're going to be drawing a card or getting go again. It blocks for 3, it costs 1, it gets hit by nimblism, or if you draw the card, not if you draw the card, or Razor Reflex, if you think you know what's in their hand or whatever, it's fine. Could be replaced with something like Censor. Censor is just a bit expensive right now, but Censor would also be, if you know your meta very well, or you know the matchups very well, Censor would be a good pick in this spot as well. Bully Tactics, I want to say turn 3 or 4, there was a turn where I had nothing but blues, and I don't remember exactly how it went, but it was like Bully Tactics with a Vigor token, and then pitch a blue to it, fully intimidate their hand, have 1 floating. I had 2 action points because I rolled the scabs, and then that had a quicken token on it from the previous turn, so that had go again. Snatch, and they couldn't full block it, so it was like they took 1 damage. I drew another card. It was just a blue or something, and then I was able to swing big, right? And they can't do anything about it, simply because they've already had their full turn intimidated. Like, this enables such huge damage push. Of course, they got their hand back, and they were able to clap back a bit, but not as big as I did them that turn. Coax Commotion. 0 for 4. That opens up all of the lines in the deck that you want. And if you're already ahead and they've already defended a bunch, you can give each other both 1 life, so you can up your advantage, because if they've already given up all their hand or something, the 1 life isn't going to do them any good, because you're going to go back on the offensive. You're just upping your own life. Most of the time, it's for the quicken token, and if you have go again, draw a card. If you do not have go again, you do not have a quicken token, you do not have a Razor Reflex, you do not have a way to give this go again, you are typically not going to be drawing the card, okay? Also, it costs 0, which leaves you a lot of resources to use KO's ability to pump it to 6 if they disrespect this. Even bigger than that, a lot of 1 attack, a lot of 2 attack stuff in the deck, very easy to trigger. You use the red one so you can dig deeper to hopefully hit a Coax of Commotion, a Bingo, a Snatch, something big, right? Looking for scrap? There's lots of 1 attacks, like I just said, so this one's almost always going to be able to be turned on, like many of us after hitting with these things. You have Mischievous Meeps, very good in the item meta. We're going to be seeing a lot of weird items in Verdants, Dash.io, all kinds of stuff. You can steal them, and they have to respect this card. If they have a bunch of no blocks, that's their fault. Mocking Blow has 1 attack, can have the boo mechanic turned on, and then if you've been booed, gets +4, right? Which in turn could be turned into 10 damage as a Sucker Punch near the end of the game. Nimblism hits most things in this deck. Snatches, Coax of Commotions, Mischievous Meeps, looking for scraps, whatever. Razor Reflex, same thing, but it gives those things go again. Snatch. 4 attack, you can pump it to 6 if they disrespect it. Draw a card with a Quicken token or Razor Reflex, this becomes stupid value. We don't got to talk about Swing Big. It's a 2 for 8, and a lot of the times you'll have all these other on hits with go again that kind of preempt the blocks. So you just push 8 damage through. You're just like, oh, you don't want the on hit? I'm just gonna get that right in there. Vipox, not always gonna work, but if they disrespect it too much, it is 9 damage, right? Maybe even 10 damage, right? They block with 1 card, you pump it over. Or I guess that would be 6 damage. It's just interesting. It also blocks for 3. It's also a 1 for looking for scrap. It also gets hit by Nimblism or Razor Reflex. Super cool card. Mocking Blow, yellow, is typically in here for pitch, block, and it's a 1 attack. Has the boo mechanic on it as well, so you can get those Vigor tokens if possible. Boo's largely in here just to get the boo multiple times. It sets you up for multiple turns with extra resources. Not super crazy about it. Flock, I have on the turn where I've had a Vigor token, been able to roll scabs for a couple action points. 2. Flock, present something, create a Quicken token. Snatch, extend a chain really far with this guy. It's also just a blue. I like this card a lot. It requires a little bit more thought. It's not as easy to use as some of the other cards, but if you do start to use this correctly, can open up really nasty lines. And also a turn 1 darling, right? If you can go like something go again, Flock, present, you have a Quicken token for the next turn. Love that. NIMBY, 1 attack, blue pitch, searches for the nimbleisms, and then obviously looking for scraps as well. Offensive behavior I like a lot. It's a blue 3 block. It is pumpable, obviously, by Kayo's ability. When it hits, create a might and a vigor. You're not often going to trigger the first ability, but it's a fine card. It's a fine card. Outside interference, you're going to notice that a lot of my reviled actions, I only have 2 copies of. The rest of them are in the inventory. If you need them, they're there. This turns into an extra copy of those. Also turns on Mandible Claws. This is a very versatile card. It's very good. Ready to roll. If you would roll 1 dice instead of roll 2, it gives you the highest chance possible of not scrubbing out on scab skins. And because everything in this deck is so cheap, you can afford to spend a card on this. Because you get a couple action points, well, now you've just opened up your line with all these very cheap cards. Even if you Savage Sash into a couple swing bigs with a couple action points, very effective. Reckless Charge, kind of the same thing. If you roll if you have the Gambler's Gloves and the Scab Skins, you want to roll those scabs first to see if you hit that 6 mark. That way, you get this, you draw a card, you might have a couple more action points than you think, right? There's only 2 copies of each of those. They're not super important to the deck, but they can tilt the game in your favor. Blue Snatch. Disrespect this and you're drawing a card and taking 6 damage. Steel Victory is okay. It's just a blue 3 block that might do something. It could take away the rune chance from a Vince. It could give you the might, could give you the vigor, could do whatever. You're not going to steal a crazy aura with it, but you know, maybe they have an embodiment of lightning. I guess maybe not nowadays. Maybe they have something crazy though. You know, it's okay. It's a blue 3 block, and these are just a blue 3 block with 6 power. It's nothing crazy. Inventory is Big Bully, Bully Tactics, Mocking Blow, and Offensive Behavior. That's so you can search for those if you want using outside interference. And then against the super aggro decks, this deck is going to probably have a problem racing. So you need these cards in order to fill your hand up and prevent as much damage as possible when possible. You have 3 Arcane Barrier on 2 pieces of equipment. Totally fantastic. That is 80 cards. That is what I think is an okay starting point. And for $260, you could do a hell of a lot worse, right? So if you're looking to jump into RKO and jump off screen and absolutely annihilate people, drop back, bam, there he is. That is the deck tech. I haven't tested this deck extensively. I've only played it like maybe 15 times. 12 to 18 damage a turn, very possible. You can outrace some of the slower decks, some of the ninjas that trip. This is a little more consistent than that. Having that pump on the 6 for the extra on hits is very threatening. Some people will overvalue that. I've had one person just overvalue it too much and just gave me too much value, and near the end of the game, they just couldn't block the actual damage. And then, like I said, against Gravy Bones, this is just stupid. This is just stupid. All of this is just stupid against Gravy Bones. So you're going to have a good time into that. If you're going into Prism, this is the wild part. You're a brute that kind of doesn't like to go into Prism, because all you really have are swing bigs and outside interferences as your poppers. And Wrecker Romps, I guess. Not a lot of good effects against Prism. You might get rope-a-dope by Prism for the first time ever as a brute. Not your favorite matchup. Anyway, guys, that's RKO. Let me know what you think in those comments. The reason I made this video was a patron, Amoxic, in the Discord had told me, hey, there's no content on this guy. Everybody's focusing on the Guardians. And it's like, well, okay. I'll see what I can kind of cook up here. Because this is a fun deck for very cheap. Deckheads, thanks for tuning into this one. Make sure to check out all of those socials. I don't know if anyone's checked my eBay or my TCG lately. I know they have because I've been making more sales. But I've been uploading literally thousands of cards from Flesh and Blood. I'm converting that whole thing from Magic into Flesh and Blood. Make sure to check that out. If I have what you need, awesome. If not, I tried, right? Thanks for chipping into this one, and it's 0.